Merry Christmas Eve, Friday, December 24th, 2021. Diane and I are headed back to Texas. We just spent a few days with her folks in Missouri. Psalm 143, verses 1 and 7. Hear my prayer, O Lord, listen to my plea. Answer me because you are faithful and righteous. Come quickly, Lord, and answer me, for my depression deepens. Don't turn away from me, or I will die. Depression. That dirty little secret that we bury so deep under years of denial that we forget that it is what is sucking the life out of us. David had his share of horrible life circumstances, and it appears he struggled with depression in several stages of his life. The difference between David and most of us is that he was quick to admit he had a problem with depression and quick to find help. His prayer in this psalm is earnest. You might even say desperate. It's not a formal prayer. It's intense and it's spontaneous. In verse 2, he humbly admits his problems are internal. Don't put me on trial, God. I know I am guilty. And therein lies a typical knee-jerk reaction to depression: guilt and shame. A swinging of the pendulum of depression to one extreme. Everything bad that happens to me is my fault. I'm guilty. I deserve the bad stuff that happens to me. And then in the very next verse, it looks as if David's going to swing the pendulum to the other extreme. My enemies are out to get me. Nothing's my fault. I'm a victim. The truth, as is generally the case, lies between those two extremes. Some of our behaviors when we're depressed are sinful, and sometimes life is unfair, and we can't seem to catch a break. We changed directions. I needed a new sunblock. When we finally get to verse 7, we find a healthy response to depression. Admit how helpless we are against it. Lord, you gotta help me, and help me quick. My depression wants to control me. What comes next is a flood of prayers and cries and pleadings, one after another, in passion and earnestness, without a hint of denial. Main point of the prayer, it's not for deliverance from enemies, but for a closer knowledge of God, awareness of His presence, a quick experience of His loving kindness, and a plea to know what to do to overcome the depression. God, show me where to go to get the help I need. Prayer helps us in attaining the submissiveness of will, which is essential to gaining the blessing on which our heart is set. If we're in God's presence in prayer, we can have heaven within, even though all hell is breaking loose around us. In the entire life of David, if there's one lesson we can learn from him, it's his prayer life. From the time he was a shepherd boy to the time he was running for his life from Saul, and even when he was crowned king, his communication with the Lord in prayer has encouraged all believers right through the centuries. When you find your depression deepening, do what David does. Spontaneously, passionately, desperately, and certainly verbally, pray. God, I don't know how you specifically answered David's prayer in this psalm, but one thing is very clear. He got to know you better. God, if the only two choices I have are know you more or no more depression, I want to know you more. Amen. God bless you. See you on Christmas Day.